This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the sports betting network.
All right, welcome into a new hour of Cashing Out with me, Joe Ceraulo. It's the special draft edition of the program. The first night, first round of the 2025 NFL Draft officially in the books. It was a night that had some surprises, not an overwhelming amount. I mean, there were no trades outside of that initial Jaguars-Browns trade. There wasn't another deal made until pick 25. And in that, heart of the first round, in the middle there, it was a lot of players in the trenches, edge rushers, offensive linemen. Not the sexiest draft. But there were three notable surprises that we've got to get to. And first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, it's Travis Hunter not going number 2, but rather where he went. We all knew he was going to go number 2 overall. You had to lay $3 or more for Travis Hunter to be the second overall pick. But it was going to Jacksonville ultimately, not the Cleveland Browns, who were slated to pick number 2. That was the surprise with Travis Hunter. And this was a day that started with all 32 teams holding their respective picks. First time since 1967 that every team, and obviously in 1967 there were not 32 teams in this league, but it was the first time since 1967 that every team held its respective pick the morning of the draft. Now that changed. The Browns and Jags swapped. Teams like Houston and the LA Rams ultimately traded out of the first round. The Chiefs and Eagles swapped at the end. So there were a couple deals. Not an overwhelming amount. I believe, looking at this board, there were just 4 trades made. And usually, we've seen upwards of, I've seen props, will there be double digit trades made, 8+. So 4 is still a really light night. And Ryan Poles, the Bears GM, said that, there were going to be fireworks and, maybe he was full of it. To an extent, there was a big smoke screen, although that does take us to surprise number 2, who the Bears went with their 10th overall pick in taking a tight end. The surprise isn't that the Bears took a tight end. It's that they didn't take the best tight end. They passed up on Tyler Warren and instead went for Colston Loveland, the kid out of Michigan. And that pick absolutely shocked me. I had to do a double take. I'm getting dressed, getting ready to drive into work, drive into Circa, and I'm looking at the tracker on my phone, and I'm like, no, that's a typo, right? It couldn't be Colston Loveland when Tyler Warren is still on the board. I think that was an absolutely ridiculous pick. I don't think there's any sneaky, they knew what they were doing with that one. I think Tyler Warren is one of 3 guys taken in the first round who should have sure thing attached to their name. And none of those guys are a quarterback. I like Cam Ward a lot, by the way. None of those guys are a quarterback. Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Tyler Warren. Sure things in this year's draft class. And I thought Warren was going to go to the Jets. I put a little half unit, flyer out there on Jets to go tight end plus 340. Got the CLV. It was down to about plus 250. Whoop-de-doo, CLV doesn't cash tickets. Jets go O-line second year in a row instead of tight end. But I thought the Jets, after not going with Brock Bowers a year ago, learned their lesson and would have taken the explosive, dynamic, playmaking tight end out of Penn State, Tyler Warren. Jets passed on Warren. They go Armand Membu, who I like. And I said Membu, and I stand by this. I think of all the offensive linemen here, Membu has the highest ceiling as a tackle. Will Campbell's a dog. And Will Campbell in New England's a beautiful, perfect fit. I don't know if he's going to be a tackle in this league for the entirety of his career, or if he's going to work his way inside and become a guard at some point. Membu, in terms of being a tackle, might bring the biggest upside to the table, even if he's not protecting a blind side, even if he stays on the right side of the O-line out there in New York, where you would have to imagine Fashanu becomes the left tackle. The third, final, and probably biggest surprise of the first round of the draft, Shedeur Sanders is still on the board going into Friday, ladies and gentlemen. And I think, frankly, that's idiotic. I think it's absurd. I mean, look, you could say, that coach said he didn't like the meeting with Shedeur Sanders. I don't think there's a question that Shedeur Sanders is the second best quarterback in this draft class. Now, I've said this before, and I'll reiterate. I don't think he's a Pro Bowler. I don't think he's an all-pro QB in the making. But I think he's the only other quarterback not named Cam Ward who can be a competent starter in this league. In other words, I think Jackson Dart's hot garbage. I think Jackson Dart is trash. And that there is no world that we live in where Jackson Dart should have been selected over Shedeur Sanders. And am I pissed at my Giants for trading up, for sacrificing other future assets to move up and get Dart when they could have sat there at 34 and probably either gotten Dart or Shedeur Sanders? Yeah, I'm annoyed that my Giants did that. I love the Carter deal, and I love how it's reminiscent of, look, this Giants team is, make no mistake about it, they are a ways away from winning or contending for a Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. But if you look at the 4 Giants teams that did hoist the Lombardi Trophy, it was all D-line, pass rush, front 7. Whether it was LT and Carl Banks and Harry Carson, or it was Michael Strahan and Osi Umenyiora and Justin Tuck and Matthias Kiwanuka and Jason Pierre-Paul and Dave Tollefson, the Giants have always won with absolute ferocity coming out of their front 7. So I love the Abdul Carter pick. And I love the fact that they wasted no time and immediately announced that they were exercising the 5th-year option for Kayvon Thibodeau right after taking Abdul Carter. So you've got Carter, Thibodeau, Brian Burns, and oh, by the way, one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL in Dexter Lawrence, all out there in your front 7. I love that. I don't love when you're a team that vastly needs help in its secondary and has a terrible offensive line. I don't love drafting a quarterback to sit and be number 2 or 3 on your depth chart. Probably number 3. I don't think Jackson Dart's going to suit up for the first half of the season. I mean, you got to get better at corner. Your first-round pick from a couple years ago, Deonte Banks, has not worked out. You got to get better at safety. You got to get better at O-line. Man, I really hate that Jackson Dart pick. And, hey, give DraftKings credit where it's due, and you're going to hear from Johnny Avello, our friend, the sportsbook director over there shortly. They had Jackson Dart. Day of, minus 135. They knew it was coming. It seemed inevitable. I mean, I didn't personally see this, but I'm hearing Brian Daboll's kid was posting, or I don't know if it was Daboll's kid or Joe Shane's kid. Someone's kid was posting, like, Jackson Dart highlights on his Instagram story. First off, what the hell is that about? I mean, come on, really? I hate that pick. I think it's just going to go down as a wasted pick, like Kadarius Toney was a few years ago. A guy who they waste a first-round pick on, who will not be on the team in a few years. Because when, and I say when, not if, because it is inevitable, that Brian Daboll and Joe Shane are on their way out, don't let the door hit you. Oh, we don't have money for Saquon Barkley, but let's pay 18 different quarterbacks. Let's pay Drew Lock and play Tommy DeVito over him. Let's pay Jameis Winston and then pay Russ Wilson and then draft a quarterback. Give me a break. You didn't have that money for Saquon Barkley, but you got money for all these different terrible quarterbacks on your depth chart, on your roster. Incompetence at its finest. So I say when, not if, Daboll and Shane are gone. Jackson Dart will likely be gone with them. The new regime ain't going to keep this guy around because he's not their guy. And that's why I didn't want the quarterback pick. I thought this team would have been better suited to wait. Now, obviously, Daboll and Shane can't wait till next year because if they stink again and if they're in position to draft a top QB next year, Shane and Daboll are going to be on the unemployment line. But I think the Giants might be drafting a new quarterback in 2026 regardless, just with a different regime. Absolutely wasted pick. Hated it. I got to say the Genty pick, and for all you Las Vegas locals and all you Raider diehards, if you're excited about this, congratulations. I'm not trying to rain on your parade. I just think the Raiders need O-line. And Genty's only going to be as good as the big uglies blocking for him. So I think the Raiders still need quite a bit of help in Vegas to be competitive. Genty props are up. They're intriguing. I'll tell you what, there's two that stand out to me. 1,100 or more yards, minus 110. I think that's not a fair price. I think it's a lot of yards for a rookie with not a great O-line. And the fact that you're not getting plus money, the fact that you got to lay 75 cents for 1,000 yards, I don't know. Thought Zamir White might be a candidate for 1,000 yards last year for the Raiders. He didn't even come close. So Genti, 1,100 plus yards, minus 110, or 7 plus touchdowns, minus 125. Ding, ding, ding. I think that's your winner. And DraftKings, to their credit, wasted no time in posting those. And I'm sure numbers and odds will move because those are brand new odds that have just been posted. But Genti, 7 plus touchdowns, I like. 1,100 plus yards, I don't. I think he'll get the touchdowns. It's a long season. He's a rookie. I don't know about the yards. Seems a little steep, and I don't want to lay money for 1,100. Folks, the NFL Draft is one of the few betting events where research beats reputation every damn time. And VSiN Pro can always help you cash in. Right now, get VSiN Pro access through August 1st for just $59. It's a full summer of sharp betting insights at half the regular price. With VSiN Pro, you'll get daily best bets, including sharp insight into NFL draft props. There are still a few out there for rounds 2 and 3. Real-time betting splits from DraftKings and Circa. 24/7 video access on the VSiN Watch app, and more. From the draft to the Derby and beyond. Every sport, every edge, one incredible, unbeatable low price. Sign up now. VSiN.com/subscribe. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. More NFL draft coverage up next. After all, they don't call it the Draft Spectacular for nothing. Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo continues after the break.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Night 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft in the books as we look ahead to day 2, rounds 2 and 3. We're starting to get some action, some more bets coming in. We've got Jalen Milroe, exact team odds. Those weren't there a few minutes ago. We'll go through all of that and more here as Cashing Out with myself, Joe Ceraulo, resumes, taking you on in to your Friday morning. Is there a better way to start your weekend? You get the NFL Draft, NBA playoffs. We're cashing out on live bets. OKC minus 2.5, down 26 at halftime. How you doing? Winner, winner. 114-108 in Memphis. You're welcome. I can't say you're welcome. Not after the day we had betting baseball. Rough one. But got there with the Thunder. So I'll take it. We've got more draft bets available. Let's take a look. All right. First player who pops up. This is a funny one because he might not even go round 2. He was never a question of whether or not he was going to go round 1. But he's a fun cat. Cam Scadaboo, Arizona State. I think America fell in love with him as the Sun Devils made it to the playoff. Scadaboo, I mean, this is like, just throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks, right? No one knows where he's going to go. 6-1 is your short shot. Scadaboo to the Patriots, 6-1. Chiefs, who were the favorites Thursday morning, now the second shot, 7-1. Niners, 8-1. Broncos, 9-1. Cardinals, 10-1, so on and so forth. No one knows where Scadaboo's going to go. I don't even know what round he's going to go in. Frankly, I mean, he's not the best running back remaining. Trey Henderson is. Is he the second best running back remaining? I mean, if you look at ESPN's running back rankings, Scadaboo, there have been 2 taken, right? You had obviously Genti, and then you had Hampton go to the Chargers. Trey Henderson's next. His backfield mate, Judkins, is next after him. Then Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. Scadaboo, 4th best remaining, 6th overall, according to ESPN. Now, that's not the Bible. It's not the law. But that's what they have. So, I don't think Scadaboo's going to be a round 2 guy. I think he's going to be round 3, round 4. Wouldn't shock me if he gets taken Saturday. I don't see him dropping further than round 4. But that's where I think he goes, round 3 or 4. So take your guess. Pat 6-1 being the favorite. That tells you no one knows. But it's a fun little prop. And if you get it right, you get some value. Now, Shedeur Sanders, who I think we can say we know is going to get taken round 2. I mean, I think we all thought he was going to get taken round 1, but I think there are going to be 2 quarterbacks selected in the first 10 picks of Friday's second round. And I think those two are Shedeur Sanders and Jalen Milroe. Not Tyler Shuck, not anyone else. Shedeur and Milroe. And you look at the best quarterbacks remaining. You got Shedeur. ESPN actually has Tyler Shuck, the kid out of Louisville, ahead of Milroe. I say the kid, he's my age. Freaking my age. That's why I don't want to touch him. This has Brandon Whedon written all over it. Give me a break. So ESPN's best remaining, it goes Shedeur, Shuck, Milroe, Howard, Ewers, McCord, Riley Leonard, Dylan Gabriel. And, we don't have to go to the ninth best remaining, but let's give our guy Wes Reynolds, a little respect here. Curtis Rourke out of Indiana, ninth best remaining. It is a bad quarterback class. I think Shedeur is going to be the first pick taken on Friday. 33rd overall. I think the Cleveland Browns go up to that podium and they take Shedeur. And the odds makers think so too, because the Browns are minus $4 to draft Shedeur Sanders. Followed by the Raiders at 5-1, which, by the way, opened, I believe, at about plus 650, 7-1. So the Raiders and Saints and Jets, all these prices have come down. Jets opened 10-1. They're now 9-1 as the fourth shot. Saints were 8-1. They're now 6-1 as the third shot. I think the Saints might make a play on Milroe. And look, the order of this, right? Browns, Raiders, Saints, Jets makes perfect sense because it's the order in which they select. Browns have 2 of the first 4. In the middle of that sandwich, you got Houston and Tennessee. They're not going quarterback. Then the Raiders, then the Saints, then the Jets have the 42nd overall pick, 10th second round pick. So it makes sense where these numbers are. But it wouldn't shock me if the Saints made a deal to move up, not for Shedeur Sanders, but for Jalen Milroe. And they're priced almost the same. The Saints to take Shedeur Sanders are currently 6-1, while they're plus 550 to take Jalen Milroe. So you look at Milroe's odds, and this is actually surprising to me. You got the Browns at plus 190, a tick shy of 2-1, and then you got a three-way tie. Jets, Saints, Raiders, they are all plus 550. Wow. Why wouldn't you? You could just take a little piece of all three of them. Right? It becomes a plus 350 bet if you do that. Interesting. That's very surprising to me. I thought that the Raiders and Saints would be shorter than the Jets for sure. Interesting. Jalen Milroe plus 550 to go to all three of those teams, Jets, Saints, Raiders, and the Steelers, who don't own a second round pick, are not far behind at 6-1. I don't think the Rams have a second round pick, and they're 9-1. And yet the Browns are favored for Milroe at plus $1.90 when they're minus 400 to draft Shedeur Sanders. The only way Sanders doesn't go to the Browns is like maybe the Raiders. If Cleveland goes somewhere else at 33, maybe the Raiders trade up. They've been linked to him. He could sit for at least a year behind Geno. This is weird. I'm going to say Sanders goes Browns. Not betting it. To me, it's not bettable, laying $4. And I'm going to say Milroe, Saints, plus 550. But again, you could take Jalen Milroe to go to the Jets, Saints, and Raiders all, and it just becomes a plus 350 bet if he goes to one. Now, you're down 3 units if you go a full U on each, and he doesn't go to any of those 3. But if he does go to one of those 3, you're just shaving $2 off the value. It's still plus 350 for the guy to go essentially top 10 on Friday. Very interesting. I think Milroe is definitely a better option than Shuck. You don't have the mobility with Shuck. His pro day was an embarrassment. I don't see the intrigue in a mediocre 26-year-old, right? Apparently, me and Leo DiCaprio agree on that. I just don't see the intrigue there. Folks, this summer, don't forget to go all in right here at Circa Las Vegas with the ultimate getaway package. Just $400 all in. With that, you'll get a 2-night stay right here at Circa Las Vegas Resort and Casino, a $100 dining credit, a $100 beverage credit. That could get you like 3 of those tall frozen mango things at Stadium Swim. It's a great deal. And speaking of Stadium Swim, your very own daybed there, where the party never stops. All that, folks, for just $400, resort fees and taxes included. Why stay on my couch when you can stay at Circa for 2 nights for $400? This limited time offer is valid for stays between May 26th and September 4th, Monday through Thursday nights. It's the best deal in town. You really can't beat it. Don't miss out. Lock in your all-in summer package now at circalasvegas.com. Some NBA action on Thursday night. Man, we alluded to it before. That Oklahoma City Thunder comeback was something, huh? Down 26 at halftime. John Morant takes a hard spill with 3 minutes to go in the first half. Grizz up 27 at the time. Has to leave the game with a hip injury. Doesn't come back. I mean, you would think Memphis, even without Morant, they've had to play without Morant for prolonged periods of time. You would think they could hold a 26-point halftime lead. Nope. When it was officially announced that Morant was not going to return, OKC was down 21. The odds immediately shifted. Despite being down 21, they were plus 10.5 and only plus 475 on the money line. That's a short price for a team down 21 in the third quarter. Didn't bet either of those, but down the stretch, they were down 3 with a few minutes left. Took them minus 2.5, laid 5 cents, loved every minute of it. Won by 6, 114-108. Got sweaty. I think they were down 108-105, and they scored the final 9 points, if I'm not mistaken. Got sweaty, but got home. And that's all that matters. How about the other Western Conference action, huh? Clips, Nuggets. 34-point win for the LA Clippers. My goodness, what a bloodbath in the first ever playoff game at the Intuit Dome. Clips go up 2-1. We grabbed that series plus $1.35 as soon as the series was announced. Clippers ended up shifting from 35-cent dogs to favorites in that series. Kawhi, 21 points, 11 boards. Harden and Powell each added 20. Zubats, 19 and 9. I mean, this wasn't a game where anyone took over, but everyone contributed. How about that? 4 guys, 4 starters between 19 and 21 points. Zubats, 9 boards. Kawhi, 11 boards, 6 assists. Harden, 6 boards, 9 assists. Everyone got in. 2 guys on the bench, double figures. Derek Jones Jr., haven't heard that name in a while. Nick Batum. They both scored in double figures. The Clippers, I said it earlier in the week, I'll reiterate. I think right now they are the biggest threat to Oklahoma City, if one exists, in the Western Conference. More cashing out up next with me, Joe Ceraulo.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Thursday night, right on into your Friday morning as we start to prepare now for day 2 of the 2025 NFL Draft. Round 1, night 1 in the books. Who better to break it all down with over on the Progressive Guest Line than our friend, the sportsbook director over at DraftKings, Johnny Avello, as we welcome him into the program. Johnny, how are you? How big of a success was night 1 for you and your friends over at DK?
Hey, Joe. Not bad. The first 4 picks pretty much went as we thought they would go, at least pick-wise. We had an idea that the Browns were Jags were gonna trade up to 2, and then Browns would be 5. So the pick for the Jags stayed the same, but the Browns they're the ones that kind of threw a wrench into this thing with Mason Graham. We didn't think that's where they were going. Genty going 6 was good. They bet that he would go either in 5th pick exactly or wouldn't be in the mix at all. So that turned out pretty good for us. The bettors did have McMillan squared at 8 going to Carolina. That was a good one. That was all today's stuff too. And then they did bet Dart as the first quarterback, but under 24.5, and they just missed on that one, didn't they?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, obviously with the Saints there at 9 and the Steelers at 21, Dart waiting to go until 25, probably huge for you guys. The McMillan pick surprised me. That was a lot of late steam for him to go Carolina, because I thought by all accounts that the Panthers were going edge there. But I'm curious on Genty, because we've seen that line move a ton. The Raiders were, minus 50 cents about a week ago. Then the Jaguars came in as the odds-on favorite. And then the Bears, correct me if I'm wrong with this number, were they laying 220 morning of for Genty to be a Bear? I mean, the Bears had some significant juice that you would have had to lay for Genty to go to Chicago. So how did that all kind of fluctuate over really the past 5 to 7 days?
Well, most of this was taking place over the last 3 days too, actually.
Yeah.
You know, Genty, we thought Genty was going to go to the Jags. There was some talk that he could go to the Patriots, but if the Patriots were a longer shot, I thought the Jags were pretty solid on him. And then, of course, the Raiders won him. They were the initial taker of him. But then the Bears got in the mix today where, the rumor out there was that the Bears were going to trade up to 5 with the Jags and take him in that spot. And then we took a lot of money on him at that point. But then there was some money on him not being in the top 6.5. And so when he went 6, that did help us out some. I mean, it was a crazy draft. I mean, there were guys being picked in spots that I didn't think they would be picked in, or some guys were better than them, like Loveland. I didn't expect Loveland to go before Warren, So there were some strange picks in the draft, and some of them, some teams did pretty well, some didn't. The Giants taking Dart is kind of a really strange pick. I know Dart can sit on the bench and watch, and maybe Sanders couldn't sit on the bench and watch. But when you size up those two quarterbacks, Sanders is head and shoulders above this guy.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, look, Johnny, I grew up in New York. I'm a Giants fan. I hate the pick. I said Jackson Dart might, be following his predecessor, Matt Corral, over to the UFL, because I don't think Jackson Dart is an NFL quarterback, especially a first-round pick. I hated that, and you guys had him odds on. You nailed that. What was it, minus $1.35 at close for Dart to be a Giant?
Yeah. And how about we nailed the 24.5 spot too? So yeah, we were right on that one. And what makes it worse for the Giants is that they traded up to get him. They probably didn't even have to do that. They probably could have got him tomorrow night, or they could have made a trade late in and not given up as much as they did. So I just think the Giants panicked and cut your best deal, and if you get him, you get him. If you don't, you don't. And they did not cut their best deal.
Yep. Last time they panicked and they reached for a quarterback, it was Daniel Jones. It was a disaster. I could see this being just as disastrous for the New York Football Giants. I want to talk briefly about those top 3 picks because you guys nailed it. Obviously you had to lay a ton for Ward at 1, Hunter at 2, Carter at 3, and that was the sensible way of protecting yourselves there because it seemed like such a foregone conclusion. Did you get a lot of people laying the juice there, or did the prices make the public stay away so you kind of protected yourself?
Well, if you go back about 4 months ago, we put up Sanders as the number 1 pick, and here's Sanders nowhere to be found as a number 1 pick anywhere. So that was our number 1 pick. But once we solidified that Ward was the number 1 pick, there was some money that came in when he was a much lower price. But those 3 picks were, pretty solid. Now, Carter for the Giants, there was some talk that the Giants might take Sanders in that 3rd spot. So we had some volatility there on the prices and the money coming in. But today there was a lot of people betting 50s and 100s on different guys to be in the top 3 or 4 spots, and none of that happened. So that was also good for us on today's wagering.
Nice little donation right there to DK. I mean, look, I'll admit, I made a little donation. I put a little $20 play on Shador to go 9th overall, thinking the Saints might take him there. And 20-1, it was like, why not put a little flyer on it, Let's talk tight ends. Tyler Warren, you must have cleaned up, right? Whether it was under 9.5 to go top 10, first tight end selected, Jets to take. Did Tyler Warren, was that a cleanup for you guys?
Yeah, that was pretty good. That worked out good. Cleanup? No. I mean, there is some bettors that did have that correct with Loveland going before Warren, but for the most part, that was a winner for us for the most part. Now we also allowed parlays too, so that's why I couldn't even tell you where we were at for the night until just maybe a half hour ago because we had still parlays calculating.
Interesting. When do you think we're going to start to see some Rookie of the Year markets potentially, and how do you see that shaking out? Do you think Cam Ward is going to be a massive favorite there, or are there some other names to keep an eye out for? It's tough because not a lot of skill players taken. I mean, this was a night dominated by the trenches, but how do you see that Rookie of the Year market? When do you see it starting to take place?
That Rookie of the Year market's already up. So if you want to go to our site, well, we have Offensive Rookie of the Year. We have Defensive Rookie of the Year. Offensive Rookie of the Year is Cam Ward. He's a 2-1 favorite, and him and Genti, followed by Travis Hunter, McMillan. You can see the whole list on there. And then Defensive Rookie of the Year is Carter, followed by Carter, overwhelming favorite at plus 225. Followed by Jalen Walker at plus 650, Hunter plus 850, and Williams at plus 850. So we have those markets up. Plus we have markets up on MVP. We got markets up on what all these rookies are going to do. Will Cam Ward have 2,750 yards passing? Will they have 3,000 yards passing? Will Travis Hunter have receiving yards over 700. These guys put it all up tonight, knowing that that's what everybody would be asking for.
I love it. You guys wasted absolutely no time on that. How about Shedeur Sanders? Already seeing some movement. You guys, after he went undrafted in the first round, he opened up minus $5 to Cleveland. Now it's $4. The Raiders coming down a bit in price, plus $5.50. Saints 7-1. With Shedeur money, obviously a lot of that is still outstanding if people bet on, specifically what team he'll go to. What are you guys rooting for? Anything in particular with Shedeur that would help you guys out?
The Giants are not in this mix now, so that certainly helps us out.
Yeah.
I think most of it's going to depend on this new proposition that we put up. So, are they going to go take a Raiders at plus 550? They're going to take the Saints at plus $7. I think that's where he's going to land. It's one of those three: Browns, Raiders, or Saints. So, we'll find out tomorrow anybody's going to trade up early to try to get him, or they're just going to wait for their position and grab him.
Johnny, last thing I want to touch on with you, shifting gears slightly to the NBA playoffs, because I'm in love with this LA Clippers team as they go up 2-1 over the Nuggets. Have you started to see an influx of Clippers futures money to win the West, maybe to win the title? Because they're starting to, more so than the Warriors or Lakers, look like they could be the only threat to OKC in the West.
Yeah, we were seeing some Clipper money back a ways. So now I would think that now, being up in the series, I would think that we're going to start to see more of it. Right now, the Clippers are still 25-1, so they were a higher price. At one time during the season, they weren't even quite this high. So, so we're starting to see it, but there's still some teams in the West you got to beat. But, Oak City Thunder now that series is now evened up. So, maybe there is a path for some of these other Western teams.
Johnny, absolutely fantastic stuff. Really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Johnny Avello, the sportsbook director over at DraftKings, with us on the Progressive Guest Line as the Clippers go up 2-1 on Denver, recapping the first night in the NFL Draft, and more. More Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo up next.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo. It's our special draft edition of the program, taking you on into your Friday morning with the first round of the 2025 NFL Draft officially in the books. Now, there were some surprises, right? The three big surprises we started the hour with. Travis Hunter, not that he went number 2, but what team he went to, as Jacksonville pulled off the immediate trade after the Titans announced Cam Ward's name. The Jaguars and Browns deal was done. Jacksonville moving up to get Travis Hunter. Obviously, primarily a D-back, but also a shiny new toy for Trevor Lawrence to throw to alongside Brian Thomas Jr. Then, the second surprise, the order of tight ends. Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland seemed to be the only two that were going to go in the first round, but Tyler Warren, top 10, felt like a foregone conclusion. Whether it was the Jets, whether it was the Bears, and when the Bears' time to pick came at 10, and they went tight end, it wasn't Tyler Warren. The guy was minus 75 cents to be a top 10 pick. His over-under was 9.5. I believe it was plus $1.50 to the under because a lot of people projected him to the Bears. I figured he might go to the Jets. Jets, of course, passed up on a dynamic tight end a year ago when they passed Brock Bowers, took Fashanu, the O-tackle out of Penn State. Well, figured this time around, with their needs being O-tackle and tight end, they'd go tight end. They did. They doubled down on an offensive tackle, Armand Membu, who, by the way, I think may have the highest ceiling, highest upside of any tackle in this draft. I also think Will Campbell may end up getting kicked inside and being a guard at this level. Third and final surprise, the man who is still on your board, Shedeur Sanders. Not just that he fell out of the top 5, the top 10, top 15, top 21, out of the first round entirely. New odds on Shedeur, minus $4 to be a Cleveland Brown as they pick 33rd and 36th. That translates to 1st and 4th in Friday's second round. So those are your 3 big surprises. There were no surprises at number 1. Frankly, in terms of the order, 1, 2, 3, 4, there were no surprises there. But if I had told you back in September Cam Ward was going to be the number 1 overall pick, you might have looked at me sideways. Well, I did tell you that back in September. Let's throw it back to the first ever episode of Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo, September 2nd, Labor Day, where I was all over this year's number 1 overall pick.
I'll tell you a bet I love in the futures market for this kid. He's going to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft in 2025. And I've said this is not a week 1 overreaction. Cam Ward is going to be the number 1 pick in next April's NFL draft. Write it down. Mark my words. Folks in the back room over there, clip it, use it, blast it out there. Cam Ward's going to be the top pick.
Clip it, use it, blast it out there. Cam Ward, number 1 overall pick. Nailed that on the first ever episode of Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo. Also, who was that man? The beard? The hair? The tan? Take me back to September 2024. My goodness. By the way, I woke up and there he is. Well, yeah, thank you. You got me with looking like I just ate a sour piece of candy. I think I woke up in wine country that day. The beginning of this show, I think I can say this now that it's been 8-9 months. It was put together a little last minute. I had already made plans to go to wine country to celebrate starting the show on September 8th. Then I got told, oh, you're starting September 2nd as I was in wine country. So drove back from wine country that morning, did the show at night, and bam, nailed your first overall pick, all in a day's work. Speaking of a day's work, let's get to Friday. Best bets. It's time for the VSiN Daily Morning Bets. Had a busy Thursday slate, a lot of games, a lot of sports, hit some NBA bets, lost some baseball bets. We're going back to the diamond for Friday, and I'm keeping it plain and simple. We're going to talk about a few games here, but I've got one best bet. We're taking a home dog plus money, the Arizona Diamondbacks money line plus $1.05 against the Atlanta Braves. I love this pitching matchup. Zach Gallen and Chris Sale. Problem is, neither of those guys love pitching this year. How about Gallen's ERA north of 5 and Sale coming in 0-2 with an ERA north of 6? It has been an awful start to the season for those two guys. But Zach Gallen throughout his career has been sensational at home. And look, Arizona is a hitter's haven. We've talked about that. We've had guests talk about it, guys who played in the bigs, guys who have said, Arizona, easiest places to hit, Colorado, Coors Field, boom, then Arizona. Some guys have actually said they liked Arizona better than playing at Coors Field. So for some weird reason, Zach Gallen has always performed far better at home than on the road. I think Chris Sale is just going to be riding the struggle bus here. He's starting to get a little old, 36, coming off a Cy Young year. It was always going to be tough to replicate. How about the Braves stinking on the road? They're 8-3 at home, just 2-11 on the road in the early goings of the season. I mean, home teams in the MLB are winning at north of a 62-63% clip. So it's been a great year to be a home team. Arizona, one of the few teams that's actually got a slightly, and I'm talking like one game better record on the road than at home. 7-6 at home, 7-5 on the road. But I think it's a good spot for the D-backs to put some numbers up, some crooked numbers up on Chris Sale. And for Zach Gallen, I actually think this is a pretty good spot for him to correct himself a bit. He's got great career numbers against Olsen. Olsen's just 3 for 15 off of him. Ozuna, 4 for 16. Verdugo, 1 for 5. Harris and Arcia combined 2 for 13. Riley's 5 for 13 with a solo shot. I'll give him that. But for the most part, Gallen's got pretty good numbers against these Braves hitters. And I think he rights the ship here at home. Look, you give me 2 struggling aces, I'll take the guy who's got a better lineup right now behind him, and he's at his home field on his home mound. Give me the D-backs, money line, plus $1.05 to end their little 2-game skid and beat the Atlanta Braves, who are just 2-11 on the road. That's the best bet for Friday. Couple other games intrigue me. Padres, Tampa, that's one of them. San Diego's lineup, the problem is they're so injured and so depleted. No Jackson Merrill, no Luis Arias. Can we start to say Xander Bogaerts kind of stinks a little bit, right? I mean, Michael King's pitching. That's the saving grace here. So maybe you look for King in the prop market because the Padres, they're going to have to win a low-scoring game, and Shane Baz has been great for Tampa Bay. Maybe you go, look at this. Over 17.5 outs, you're laying $2. I can't get there on that. Under 1.5 earned runs, you're laying 35 cents. That's too much. Walks, maybe under 1.5 at even money, but that's a risk. K's 6.5. It's 15 cents each way. I mean, King's not the most productive strikeout pitcher in baseball, but he is at home. You're only asking for 7. It's not an egregious total. How many times he's got 31 on the year? He's gotten 3 of his last 4. He's gone 7+. Twice at home. 8 at home against Colorado. Oh, that was a complete game, so not great for your Ks per 9. Got 11 in 5 innings against Cleveland. Didn't strike anyone out at Oakland, at Sacramento. 2 and 5 2/3, but that's Sacramento. It's understandable. At Houston, had 7 and 5 2/3. Maybe you look over 6.5 Ks in that one at minus 15 cents. I don't love it, but, laying 40 cents with the if the lineup was healthy, I would do it. But if the lineup was healthy, they wouldn't be minus 140. They'd probably be closer to minus 180 against Tampa if their bats were at full health. Now let's look pitcher props. Is there anything bettable for Logan Gilbert? K's 8.5 plus 105 to the over. He's at home taking on the Marlins. To record a win, he's minus 130. That intrigues me, but who's going for the Cal Quantrill? Oh, Cal Quantrill stinks. We got burned on taking a pitcher to get the win with Cole Reagans. He only went 3 against Colorado. Of course, with our luck, the Royals scored the game-winning go-ahead runs in the bottom of the 5th, but Reagans got pulled with a cramp or something. Gilbert's gone 7+ Ks in all 5 starts this season. Is there any value to go in 7 Ks and Mariners money line? Is that bettable? That's minus 140. I mean, that's not great for a same-game parlay. Maybe you go 8 Ks, Mariners money line. That's possible. Gilbert on outs recorded. He is at 18.5 plus 135 to the over. That might be worth a look. If he can go 6 1/3 or longer, although he hasn't done that, frankly, since his first start of the year. Either way, that'll do it for the VSiN Daily Morning Bets. Folks, don't forget Best Bets. Let's try that again. Best Bets are brought to you by our friends over at G-Bank, the official bank of VSiN. G-Bank's up in the ante with up to a $750 bonus for new G-Bank Visa Signature Card customers. First, new customers who spend $1,000 on eligible purchases within 90 days from the account opening receive a $250 bonus. Additionally, if you spend $50,000 on gaming and sports app loads within the 30 days of your account opening, you'll receive another $500 bonus. That's potentially $750 back in your pocket. Apply now, VSiN.com/GBank. Subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions do apply. And that'll do it for a terrific NFL Draft edition of Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo. Couldn't do it without our amazing team. Jared, Johnny, John, Jaron, Steph, Fenhouse. Program wouldn't be possible without him. That does it for me, Joe Ceraulo. We'll be back at it in 69 hours here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.